Well, g'day and welcome back to another episode of BlankCanvasTV.com. I'm Andre Knott. We are changing the way you see and experience art, and today we're continuing our last episode that we did yesterday, and that's because we ran out of time because the 10 most famous art museums in the world, or most significant, greatest art collections in the world, took longer than I expected. So today we're going to do the other 5. So it's the 10 most must-see museums in the world, and the second 5 right here. And it's not in any particular order, let me let you know. I mean, these are just some of the magnificent places around the world of art collections, and it must be understood as well that when you look at the art world and the art history, or history of the art world, these types of collections take a long time to come to be, or to come to be a collection of works, and it's through major benefactors. It's all through the pillages of war and all the rest that states or areas or I guess countries have the opportunity, or powers have the opportunity, kings and queens have the opportunity to put these works into collections. Now, here's one for you that I am absolutely a huge fan of, and that is the Hermitage, the State Hermitage in St. Petersburg, Russia. St. Petersburg is the old capital of Russia. Today it's Moscow, but for many years, from Peter the Great in the early 1700s right through to the early part of the 20th century, so for 230 years or so, the State Hermitage, or St. Petersburg was the capital of Russia. And it was basically called the Venice of the North. If you ever go there, you'll see a huge array of beautiful canals and boats, and the wonderful river there in St. Petersburg, and how that has basically been recreated as the Venice of the North by Peter the Great. And then, of course, the Catherine the Great as well brought that forward as well into the future, and showed that it's such one of the most sublimely beautiful cities in the world. It's got one of the greatest architectures and histories around the world as well. If you look at the Hermitage itself, it is the old Winter Palace. It's painted green and white, and most of the city is painted all sorts of different colours, but and very, very loud and vibrant colours, because of the fact that the whole country is kind of under, it's in snow for at least half of the year. It's blanketed with white, so you've got these colours that stand out, and the Hermitage actually painted green these days. It was the old Winter Palace. It's the old palace of the Tsars. And back in 1917, when the communists took Russia, they also took the major art collections from all over the country, not just that of the Tsars. So the Tsars had a huge collection already, but so did a lot of the Russian nobility, from whom they seized all of that art. There's over 3 million works of art in the Hermitage. I've been lucky enough to go to the Hermitage 17 times, and I'm an absolute fan. They say that if you spent 1 minute in front of every work of art inside the open hours, that's 8 hours of the day, and you were to do that consecutively, it would take you 17 years to see the entire collection. It is massive, and the Hermitage is just fantastic. The collection of the Tsars, put together by, or started to be put together by the Catherine the Great in 1764. Now, in the museum itself, some of the highlights, you will see a work by Da Vinci. You'll see 2 works by Raphael. You'll see 8 works by Titian. There's 3 rooms devoted to the works of Rembrandt, and we're talking Rembrandt van Rijn, one of the largest works of Rembrandt around the world. You've got literally 3 rooms full of Rembrandts. You've got 40 works by Rembrandt, 40 works by Peter Paul Rubens. You've got the French collection is second only to the Louvre Museum, which is in France, in Paris. So it is the second biggest collection of French masterworks in history as well. And of course, the rooms of Matisse and Picasso are some of the best on earth. And I stagger to think that almost most of these major works that you look at are over $10 million worth in value, and to think that it was all seized from a lot of the big nobility of the time. The Hermitage, right there in St. Petersburg, Russia. Quite a hike to get to it, but well worth the trip, and absolutely highlight of any visit to St. Petersburg. The Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, number 7 on the list right here. 2007 is when I went there, and it has the Dutch masterworks, for want of a better or more deliberate term. Rembrandt, Hals, and Vermeer, the 3 big Dutch masters, but there's also many others, and a trip to Amsterdam is not complete without actually going to the Rijksmuseum.